Well, good morning everybody and welcome back to the channel. You're watching Firewood at the Furnace and my name is Brad. You see what's hooked up to the four-wheeler here. We're dragging the conveyor out to the front of the yard today to see if we can at least get it going. I've got a few different options and ideas that I want to try. We're going to do the easiest one first, and my goal today is just to see if this machine is going to move and operate like it should. There's a lot of other improvements that are going to need to be done, but first things first, let's make sure it's going to operate. Stick around. All right, so if we remember back when we purchased the conveyor and first brought it into the yard, I gave you kind of a quick tour and walk around it. But this is the situation for today. This is what I want to deal with today. And you remember this used to be electric powered, and the gentleman that I purchased it from said that the electric motor burned up, quit working, and then he never used it again after that. So my original plan was to use a gas powered Briggs & Stratton engine off of one of my children's old go-karts, but that shaft is going to drive the belt or drive the conveyor the wrong direction, and it'd be kind of difficult to situate it in a way where it would run in the correct direction. So that option's kind of out for me right now. I think I'm going to go back to the electric motor and see how that works. Now this over here is a gear reduction box. I don't know what the ratio is on it quite yet, but it's connected to the shaft of the conveyor through a Lovejoy coupling right here, and then it turns 90 degrees and comes out here. Everything's free and everything turns. You can hear the conveyor turning, but I think for right now I'm going to use another Lovejoy coupling coming off of the other side of this reduction system here, and then hook up the electric motor with the Lovejoy coupling just to see if everything's going to work. That's going to be the simplest way for me to do it right now, because I really want to keep that gear reduction box if I can. The other option would be a pulley or a belt drive system, and I think the pros of having the belt drive system is if anything gets caught up in the conveyor chain and gets bound up in this gear on the bottom or the top, it would slip the belt outside here rather than break the chain. So I'm probably still leaning that way, but I want to make sure everything works correctly first. So here's what I've got. I did purchase the Lovejoy coupling. It's 5/8, going to be coming off of my electric motor to 3/4, which is the size shaft coming out of the gear reduction box. This is just the rubber spider bushing or whatever they call it that goes in the center. Basically join two output shafts together. Now I do have this pulley that I purchased. It's 5/8 diameter for whenever I decide I want to switch to the belt drive system. Now if I switch to the belt drive system, I'm going to have to do away with the gear reduction box, because the motor is going to sit here, the belt's going to have to drive here, between the shaft of the conveyor and the shaft of the motor. So then I'll have to determine and do some math to see what size pulley I need on this side to give me the correct RPM. So let me show you the motor. So this is the motor that I purchased. It's a Smith & Jones 1 horsepower motor from Harbor Freight. You can see right here the item number, if you're interested, is 68288. It's a 1 horsepower farm duty motor. It says it's designed for use for feeders, conveyors, fans, augers, compressors, elevators. You see it, the whole list there. 1800 RPM. Now we'll have to figure out what that converts to after it gets through the gear reduction box. But this was a pretty inexpensive motor, right around $120 or $30 I believe I paid for it. But I'm thinking it should work. Now it doesn't come with a wire. You have to wire up your own cord, so I bought a heavy gauge extension cord, spliced the ends there and wired it up. Pretty simple. But what I need to do now is set this motor down here in the area where it's going to be mounted, and then I need to get a measurement to to see what kind of height or spacer I'm going to need to get it up to get that shaft level with the shaft on the gear reduction box. You do get a half a degree or a degree of play each way with these Lovejoy couplings, but you want it to be as close as you can to keep from any excessive wear. So that's the next step. Alright, so you can see the motor sitting much lower than the shaft for the reduction box, but I'm going to pull this off of here. Already loosened that set screw up. We'll get this cleaned up here a little bit and try to get a measurement. Now the motor is going to have to come much closer, so we'll have to probably get some kind of plate to allow this to sit over here on this side more. We'll put the 3/4 Lovejoy coupling on this side, 5/8 on that side, and hopefully it will run. We'll give it a nice grease job too. There's grease fittings all over it. I'm sure they haven't been touched in quite a while. So when we get to that point, we'll definitely grease it up. Well, have you ever had one of those days where everything you touch just turns to crap? Everything you try to work on, just one problem leads to another problem, which leads to another problem. Well, that's exactly what I got going on here today. I do have the motor hooked up there. I'm going to show you a close-up of that here in a second. But it's totally a temporary deal here right now. You can see all the stuff that I got laid out here on the ground. I got generators, grinders, a little welder, drills. There's even a picaroon laying over there. Over here there's a little sledgehammer. Yeah, it's been quite the day. I didn't document a lot of this because I kept having to leave and go pick up material. I had to try to figure out what I was going to use for a spacer underneath the motor to line that up. And it's really close right now, but it's not perfect. I temporarily have that base tacked on there. Let me bring you in and show you. So this is just, it's ugly, I know, but it's a temporary deal. It's just to fill the space for now, to get that motor lifted up enough to get it lined up with this other shaft. And it's not perfect yet. It's close, but it's not perfect. We'll fine tune that, make some adjustments, get this welded up a lot nicer. But the connection is made. We're ready to, I think we're just about ready to start the generator up and see what this thing's gonna do. But first I'm gonna get some grease in these fittings, and I'm curious to see what the RPMs of this is gonna be. Well, Mama said there'd be days like this. They even wrote a song about it. But yeah, let's put some grease in here. Hopefully these things will all take it. This one looks like it's taking grease. But I try to stay on top of all the greasing. Got a lot of greasing to do now, or more than I'm used to, between the skid loader, the dump trailer, and now this. But I'm just trying to locate where all these grease fittings might be. Got two there. There's another one on this side. But my plans with this conveyor, if everything goes well here in a few minutes when we run this thing, my plans are to put a nice wide belly on the bottom of it here. That'll help protect the motor, protect the gear reduction box, and allow stuff when it comes off the splitter to fall right into the tray and hopefully carry it up to the top. So that's going to be one improvement I want to do. You all know I want to kind of sand it down and put a nice coat of paint on it, make it look a little better. But as soon as I get the grease in here, we're going to check and see if this bad boy is going to run. And now, the moment that you and I have all been waiting for, we're going to start up the generator and plug this 1 horsepower Harbor Freight electric motor into this conveyor and see if it's going to run. If it's anything like the rest of this day is gone, I'm just going to tell you right now, it's probably going to catch on fire, explode, and the whole thing will fall apart. But I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But without further ado, let's start it up. I'm curious to see if it runs, what the RPMs are, if it's going to be too fast or too slow. Maybe we'll throw a couple pieces of firewood on there and let it run up the conveyor and see what it does. So let's start the generator. Here we go. It's working! Holy cow! Let me turn you around here. There's all kinds of stuff falling out of the bottom of it. I guess it's caught up underneath. But it doesn't seem to be real loud. All the paddles are on it. The conveyor is running at a really good speed, I think. If I was going to set the speed on it, I think that's probably about where I would have it. That's not too fast, not too slow. Let me let you watch it run for a second. I'll grab a couple pieces of firewood and throw it on. I think that's going to work. I think it's going to work. Bring you up and show you what the top looks like. So the motor's turning at 1800 RPMs according to the paperwork. And you can see how slow that the conveyor is running compared to that. I've looked at the tags, I've looked at the markings on that reduction box, and I can't see where it says anywhere what it is. But that ratio seems to be perfect. Let me know what you think. All right, so that's a little bit better of an ending to the day than what we've dealt with most of the day. But I'm happy with that. I'm pleased that it's gonna do the job that I think I want it to do. Some of you have asked questions about the conveyor as far as the size of it and the width, because this is a little different than you see on most of the other channels with only the single drag chain. Most of them have chains on both sides and they're a little bit wider. I can't remember what I paid for this. I have to go back and check that video, and I'll link it up here at the top with the video when I brought this home. But it was either $200 or $250 that I paid for this conveyor. So I figured I couldn't go wrong with it, right? Even if it didn't run, it would probably be worth close to that in scrap. But it's gonna work, and for those of you who are asking, I just wanna take a couple measurements here real quick and let you know what it is. The narrowest part of the trough inside is 8 inches wide, and the distance between the paddles is 23 inches there, 24 inches there. So about 2 foot between the paddles and 8 inches wide, which will be good for firewood. I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. I do need to get this motor squared away if I'm going to continue to use it this way. Like I told you in the beginning of the video, a belt drive system, I think in the long run, will probably be better, because if the chain gets jammed up, the belt can slip, like I mentioned earlier, rather than breaking the drag chain. I think you can still get this drag chain at farm stores, Tractor Supply, things like that. I'm going to check into that and try to keep some of that on hand, so that if I do break a link or something, I can repair that. But let me know what you think in the comments. I know a lot of you have been waiting to see this thing get going. This is just the beginning. Now that I know it's going to run, I can invest some time in it and make it a little prettier than it is right now. But that's going to be it as far as the conveyor today. Don't forget that tomorrow night is the Thirsty Thursday live stream. I know it's Thanksgiving, but on last month's live stream, I took a little bit of a poll to see if I should do it a week early or do it on Thanksgiving. It was virtually a tie. And then last weekend, or this past weekend, I was in Florida with Taylor for her softball tournament. So it was going to be kind of hectic to do it a week early anyway, so we kept it scheduled on Thanksgiving. Hopefully you eat a little earlier in the day on Thanksgiving. I know our family does here, and you can get that afternoon nap in, get your belly full, be ready for round 2. And my sinuses, the way they're acting, having a little bit of bourbon on Thursday night for the live stream might open me up a little bit. So I hope to see you there. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next time.